Elon mask off? Yeah, we talked about mask on, now we're mask off.
In his clash with the far right over immigration, Elon Musk is now going after the hardliners, the very heart of the MAGA base, labeling them just a few hours ago as, quote, contemptible fools who must be removed from the Republican Party root and stem. Musk now finds himself pitted against the likes of Steve Bannon, however, Trump's former White House aide, who came out against Musk's push for H-1B visas, which allow highly skilled...
I just want to show real quick before I get into this. This is the face of the mental disorders that I'm talking about. Look at this. A lot of your chat are ignorant. Your ignorance is incredible, absolutely degenerate. Some people have immune-compromised systems. Bro, the only thing that's compromised is your fucking sanity. Seek help immediately. Seek help immediately and, you know, relocate yourself to the nearest mental institution before you hurt yourself. What a fucking freak. Anyway, let's go back forward.
In his clash with the far right over immigration, Elon Musk is now going after the hardliners, the very heart of the MAGA base, labeling them just a few hours ago as, quote, contemptible fools who must be removed from the Republican Party root and stem. Musk now finds himself pitted against the likes of Steve Bannon, however, Trump's former White House aide, who came out against Musk's push for H-1B visas, which allow highly skilled foreign workers into the U.S., and has long been the lifeblood of Silicon Valley.
I think that if you bring in people and the only reason why you're bringing them in is to pay them less money, because like I've seen a lot of people talk about and show like some of these H-1B visas and it's first job. Like these are not for these like super high paying jobs. These are for random ass shit. Highly skilled. Yeah, I feel like everybody, like, because I made a tweet about this and I said it before. I feel like everybody is on the side of like things like Operation Paperclip, where it's like you're bringing in Werner von Braun and like all these like really, really high tech, you know, cutting edge scientists and, you know, forward thinkers. I feel like everybody agrees with this. It's good. But bringing in a bunch of people just to have them replace Americans? I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that's a good idea at all. Specialists, yeah.
H-1B visas, that's not what it's about. It's about taking American jobs and bringing over essentially what become indentured servants at lower wages. This thing's...
I think Steve Bannon is right about this too. I do. Because like if you have to keep the job in order to keep the visa, that gives the company that's employing you more control that they would have over an American. I think he's right.
Scam by the oligarchs in Silicon Valley to basically take jobs from American citizens, give them to what become indentured servants from foreign countries, and then pay them less. Simple. To let them into the through the golden door.
Now, Bannon's comments align him with people like the far-right activist Laura Loomer, who has been bashing Musk for days now on this and is even accusing him of censoring her on his own platform. She is the anti-immigrant Trump ally.
I mean, I'd never really, like, anytime that I hear people talk about getting censored, like, I mean, if we're talking about her talking about getting censored, doesn't that mean she didn't get censored? I mean, I haven't seen any evidence of people getting censored. Apparently, there were people that responded to Elon Musk who had their accounts deleted, but there are two different messages that Twitter puts out. There's a message that Twitter banned the account for what they said, and there's a message that the account user deleted the account, and it was putting out messages that said that the account user deleted the account. Yeah, they're deleting their own account.
Who is now claiming that her blue checkmark was removed, her subscriptions were deactivated, her character limits for tweets and posts on X were limited for what she says is, quote, raising concerns and speaking the truth about the technocratic takeover of our country and the White House. Now, that was after she posted racist messages like this, saying our country was built by white Europeans, actually, not third world invaders from India. More on what she is saying about why she lost those privileges on X in a moment with Donny O'Sullivan.
I think the entire premise of them getting fixated on the race of the people that are coming over is a total fucking red flag. Or not even, it's not red, it's a red herring. That's not the point. That's got nothing to do with it. Like, it's not about whether they're, like, if these were people from Germany, it would be the same fucking thing. It's the same problem. Because and here's the issue, is that a lot of the people that are against the H-1B shit, they are racist. And they don't want Indians coming into our country and changing it. Absolutely, there are some of those people. 100%. It's not a minute. Yeah, no, 100% there's some of them. But at the same time, it's just this conversation, it's always weird for me to see like dramas like this come up and like people get mad like this, because it's almost like everybody is trying their best to not actually put any thinking into understanding a situation. You know, like I feel like people are not even trying to understand it at all. She shouldn't bring race into it because the country was built by invaders, 100%. Well, it's not invaders. I mean, we came over here, we killed everybody over here. I mean, we could say we invaded, but like it's ours now. That's the way that every country that exists, it began to exist. That's it. And so, yeah, it got conquered. Like, it didn't get invaded. That's different. It got colonized. And so, anyway, not everyone. I don't know. It depends on how far back you look. But that's not the point. The point is that the focus on race, I think, is it's easy to understand, and like it's easy to like kind of like fall into that trap, but I feel like it doesn't have anything to do. Like, if Indians were white and they were coming over here and doing the same thing, the same problem would exist. Like, if there were white Indians in India that were doing this, it'd be the same fucking thing. That's what's confusing to me.
But all of this began after Trump named Shriram Krishnan, a tech entrepreneur and investor who was born in India, as his senior policy advisor on artificial intelligence. He's not an immigration advisor for Trump, but this started this entire backlash. And it's culminated today with Elon Musk not backing off of his stance, despite the backlash that he is facing from the MAGA right. Instead, he's writing tonight, anyone of any race, creed, or nationality who came to America and worked like hell to contribute to this country will forever have my respect. Noticeably silent in all this infighting in his party, the president-elect himself.
Why the fuck does he need to comment on? Like, the thing is that he's probably waiting to see what people think. Yeah, and it's a complicated topic, too. That's the issue. It's a very complicated topic. I hate the media. I think the media is trying to stir this into something it's not. No, I think so. Basically, this is the issue, is that a lot of people that were in favor of deporting all the illegal immigrants. So this is the issue. Almost every single person that is racist would be in favor of deporting illegal immigrants because they're brown. Straight up. It's that simple. So the issue is that I think that with like Trump and like that whole group, it does attract a lot of people that are racist. It does, because it accomplishes half of their goals, whereas the Democrats don't accomplish any of their goals. So it makes it that it doesn't mean that it's just because you have people that are bad that agree with you doesn't make you bad. But at the same time, now that these people are, you know, like now, you know, you're seeing shades of gray in it. Well, now things are becoming a problem. Trump is an immigrant. His mother was Scottish. What do you think the Trump surname comes from? Trump's not an immigrant. He was born in America. Like, it's real simple. Like, if you're born here, you're not an immigrant. Like, if you came from, everybody at some point is from a family of immigrants. Like, that's not the way it works. Stop reaching. Yeah, it's just, what are you talking about? Like, it's obviously very different. Like, if you're an American citizen, you were born here, it's a totally different situation than if you're bringing in somebody from another country to take the job. That's totally fucking different. And I feel like every normal person knows that. Like, am I crazy? It's fucking obvious. Yeah, Big Five tech CEOs are majority immigrants, Indian-born, poach talent from wherever you can. Yeah, exactly. And so, like, I feel like this is the common sense viewpoint, is that it's good to make sure that you get actual top-tier talent. But when a company is using a system like H-1B or anything else, if they're using a system like that to just get cheaper talent that has less bargaining power, that's bad. It's fucking obvious. It's so obvious. Run the U.S. like New York Yankee? Well, I don't know about that. Let's see, the big difference between Indian immigrant and someone with a visa? I don't know. People genuinely think that? Yeah, I think a lot of people do. I think it's super common, actually. Yeah, for sure. That's really what happens to every company I've worked at? Yeah, for sure. And the thing is, like, this is the issue is that, sorry, I didn't mean to pause it again. The issue is that, like, I've seen so many people come out and tell stories about how they can't find jobs and, like, how they have this career or, like, you know, they're looking for, like, a job in a field and they can't get this job. So, like, how is it that we have all these people that can't get these jobs, but we also at the same time need to bring in all these people because we don't have people to fill the jobs? It seems very confusing here. And again, if I think about this just logically, right? I just logically think about this. What would a company do? Well, a company would go for the cheapest person, right? They would go for getting the cheapest possible person. And if that means getting somebody from overseas, they would do it. And in fact, we already have a precedent for it because that's the one, you know, you look at your shirt that you're wearing. Does it say made in America? Probably fucking not. So I feel like that's already a really good example of this happening in a small way.
Tonight are the former Deputy Assistant to President Biden, Jamal Simmons, Editor-in-Chief of The Dispatch, Jonah Goldberg, and CNN Senior Correspondent Donio Sullivan. And it's great to have you all here. Jonah, I'm sure you've been watching, just like I have, as all of this has been playing out.
Do you think hostility against immigration is healthy? I don't think immigration is inherently good. I don't think that it's also inherently bad. I think a lot of people take ideas like immigration and then they assign an inherent good value to them. So then it changes the premise of the conversation between whether it's like basically you're not having a conversation as like whether this is something you should do or not. It's only about why you shouldn't do it. So it's a shifting of the conversation. They romanticize it. Exactly, right? You need immigration to an extent? Oh, I don't know. I mean, do you really need immigration? I'm not sure. I'm sure in some cases, maybe, right? But like you have to look at it individually. But I don't think that like there's some sort of like inherent moral goodness to it, if that makes sense. That's a cope? Yeah, well, I mean, what I'm saying is like there's a number of countries that I would say are pretty successful that have low immigration levels, right? At least like my understanding of it. And so I'm not sure if this is completely true, but it depends. I'm sure it depends.
Getting worse today with
like
really
Japan.
Just seeing these people at each other's throats on lines.
Yeah.
What does it say to you that Trump himself, who is the king of weighing in on things online, has not done so?
Because he doesn't have a good answer to this problem, right? He's got a very tight, small coalition as presidents go, and there's just not a lot of give in it. I mean, it's symbolized by the fact he's going to have what, a 2-seat, maybe with this new defection, a 3-seat majority in the House. If you have 3 or 4 or 5 congresspeople who agree with Laura Loomer and Steve Bannon, then you can't get any legislation done that Elon Musk
there's a lot of people that are going to be against it. He's not president yet. Yeah, and also he's probably waiting to see what people say, and he's waiting to see it play out himself, right? I mean, that's it. And Japan has extremely declining population. I mean, I just don't think the solution to that is to import a bunch of people from another country. Like, I don't think that's the solution. Like, that's... So you're right in identifying the problem, but I don't think the solution is to do that instead. What is? Well, it depends on the culture. Like, I can't solve Japan's problems. I have no idea what Japan's problems are. I don't speak Japanese. I've never been there. I have no idea. So, what I can say here, I think that here there is an issue. Absolutely there is. There's one possible solution, yeah.
Wants. And so he's stuck in this hard place where he hasn't quite yet figured out how to get peace amongst the various Trumpy tribes back together. And I don't think this is going to be the schism that tears apart MAGA, but it is the first sign of what is probably going to be a good number of schisms and fault lines that divide people who have irreconcilable positions.
Yeah, it is remarkable to see this because Some people who, have studied Elon Musk for a long time were saying that when this friendship was blossoming, that inevitably there are major differences between Trump's base and them on this issue. And Donnie, just on how
I feel like that's not even a bad thing. I mean, you're going to have that no matter what. I mean, like, this is an issue that happens with anybody because, I mean, you're not going to have somebody that you agree with 100%. I think that the reason why a lot of times people agree with Trump 100% isn't even because they agree with Trump 100%. It's that they've elevated him to like a deity or like demagogue level person. And so they just basically whatever Trump says is the right thing to say. But like that doesn't actually mean that it's the right thing to say. It just means that, well, because he says that, that's it. It's cult of personality. Exactly, right? So, yeah.
All of this started was with Trump's pick for an AI advisory role. That's going to be sitting not in the West Wing, but in the building next door. And, this has caused such a huge issue where Laura Loomer, we'll get into that in a moment, but was accused of posting his address online and sharing documents like that, which is why some people said was the real reason she was taken away from.
Wait. Let me go back. Sorry, I was AFK.
Laura Loomer, we'll get into that in a moment, but was accused of such a huge, not in the West Wing, but in the building next door. And, this has caused such a huge issue where Laura Loomer, we'll get into that in a moment, but was accused of posting his address online and sharing documents like that, which is why some people. I
think if you post somebody's address online, she get permanent. It's just that simple. Yeah, it's literally that simple. Like, I don't think that there should be there's no reason to do that. I think it's the same as posting a person's real life location. Yeah, that's it. I mean, jail time. Well, basically, so the reason why it's bad is that basically, if I look at it honestly, most of the people that post a person's private information online do it because they don't like that person, logically, right? And so it's not like they're doing this because they like them. They're not doing it for a meetup. Most of the time, they're posting it because they don't like the person. So the intent is malicious and hostile. And I think what happened with Nick Fuentes is a really good example of the best case scenario for a lot of people when they're posting a person's address. Because what I think a lot of people are saying when they're posting a person's address is they're saying, hey, this is where they live. If you want to go fuck with them, this is where to start. Because I can't see any other logical reason to post that content. Can't believe that was a week ago. Felt like months ago. Yeah, exactly, right? And so, like, what could be any other reason besides that? That's it. Nick got so much hate for one comment. Well, it was a stupid comment. Nick shouldn't have said that. It was dumb. But, like, my point is, it's not about, like, whether Nick is dumb or not or whether the comment was a good comment or not. It doesn't, just because somebody posts something on the internet that you disagree with, that doesn't mean that you can make a call to action that can theoretically get them killed, right? That's not how the world works. And so, like, in my opinion, if you do that, like with what, and like Nick Fuentes is I think actually a great example, because Nick has viewpoints that I would say like a lot of people find very reprehensible. A lot of people do not like Nick Fuentes at all. And that, I think, is why he's such a good example. It's because just because you have an opinion that's bad or people don't like you, it doesn't mean that you lose the right to safety and you don't lose the right to being able to, like, protect yourself and, like, your privacy. You see what I'm saying? About people's addresses and phone numbers being publicly available online? Oh, I think it's problematic as well. Yeah, it's very problematic. He's not wrong. Well, I'm not going to debate with people about whether Nick is wrong or not. Like, that's not my point. My point is that a lot of people think that he is. And so I think that the way that it's kind of like free speech, right? Free speech isn't there to protect people from saying what flavor ice cream they like the most. Free speech is there in order to protect people from making sure that they don't end up going to jail for saying something very bad. And so I think that that's why he's a very good, a good benchmark for it. What the fuck, people in chat? Doxing's putting a spotlight on it? Yeah, they are. Drake got banned from Kick. Yeah, I saw that. I don't know why that happened. I have no idea. So yeah, there's always extremists for every viewpoint. Posting someone's address puts them at risk. Exactly. And I think that it's done with that intention. Like posting people's private information, it's being done with the intention of making the person unsafe or at least feel unsafe.
Said was the real reason she was taken away from those things on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, a big part of the reason that this advisor in question is being targeted is because he's not white. He's Indian. And, you know, you can just go on.
It's obvious. If this is a white guy, we wouldn't be having this conversation, obviously. And the reason why it's happening is because two other Indians, like that Kash Patel and Vivek, also were Indian. So now people are seeing a pattern of only Indians getting hired, and they start thinking, oh, well, maybe it's Indians recommending other Indians, and that's the reason why. Yeah, fucking obviously that's the reason why.
And see the vitriol around this conversation. I mean, they try and say it's about visas and everything else, but really you do not need to scratch the surface too far just to see the level of racism and hate and just really ugly stuff that's happening on that platform. And that is in part, right, because a lot of the white supremacists and racists and others who had been suspended by Twitter for spreading hate under the previous ownership were all brought back onto the platform under Elon Musk.
And so it's called freedom of speech. I know it must be very upsetting for this guy that this is the reality, but yes, that's called freedom of speech. And being a racist or a white supremacist, I think, is reprehensible. I don't agree with it, but these are people who have freedom of speech and they should be able to speak and say what they want. That's my viewpoint. Yeah, it's that simple. And so I understand that CNN and these other big mainstream news places, they have to, like here's the real reason they want censoring. The real reason why they want censoring is so they can push narratives without other people calling them out on it. That's the reason. Look at COVID, look at the way that they handled like BLM stuff, etc. They are only doing this in self-interest. And so racists don't get a platform for harm? Well, no, they do. I mean, anybody can make a Twitter account. I think that's a good thing. And so anyway, that's the way I see it. And so, like, yes, obviously unbanning all these people who had their freedom of speech taken away arbitrarily, that definitely brought them back. But it doesn't, like, this is the issue, right, is that banning people from social media doesn't cause them to cease to exist. That's the issue. As Indian on H1B1, I think like 50% of Indian managers do practice racism. I'm sure it happens. Of course. Guaranteed it happens. People are racist. Duh. Do you think it's a cultural issue? I think for a lot of people, it's actually it's one or the other. So, like Vivek making criticisms of American culture, I don't think that's Vivek talking bad about white people. I think that's ridiculous. Saying that American culture glorifies the quarterback over the valedictorian, I think that is a very fair criticism, and that is a multiracial criticism. That's a cultural criticism. But there are other people that are like, well, Indians are bad and they're dirty, and so we don't want them here. That's racism. That's different. And so, like, it depends on what's happening. They are? I mean, I'm sure there's people that are dirty in India. Like, there's people that are dirty here. Sure. There's a lot of people in India. It's a totally different culture, totally different group of people. There's plenty of Indians in America here that don't shit in the street. Like, what are we talking about? Like, it's such a retarded way of looking at things. No, not every, there's 1 billion people in India. They don't all do this. Like, this is insane, especially not the ones that live here. It's crazy. It's a generalization, yes. No, I don't agree with that at all. I think it's silly.
What you're having now is you have people who are also incentivized by the structure put in place in Musk to have these kind of viral posts where they pick on somebody essentially and try to get them to go viral.
And chief among them is Laura Loomer, who, for people who don't, she's not a household name. For people who don't know her, you know, she has pushed conspiracies about 9/11, even though Trump took her to the 9/11 memorial with him. She was on his campaign plane. You know, we saw her getting off of it with him.
Most of the conspiracies with, like,
earlier during the 2024 race, not that long ago.
This is CNN being CNN, in my opinion.
She is claiming Musk is censoring her. I heard from people who are opposed to her earlier today saying that's not what's happening here. What is?
Yeah.
What
Why did Bush do
with
it?
her account?
So yeah, Loomer has about 1.5 million followers on X.
That's
She's
more than
a
me.
big
It ain't the
voice
banner.
in the MAGA world, right? As much as I think maybe a lot of establishment Republicans, even people who are close to Trump, would like to say that, you know, she doesn't have influence. She does certainly in this space. What happened over the past 24 hours is she has a verified blue badge.
I think that people overestimate influence and they underestimate the amount of value that a lived experience that resonates with people that are reading matters. So it's great that somebody has a lot of followers, but Elon Musk having such a negative reaction to like what he was saying about HB1 visas or H1B visas, I think that indicates that like just because you have a big audience, it doesn't mean that you're always right. And it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to tell your followers to do something and they're always going to do it. So this like weird idea that, oh, well, this is all coming from the top down. The reason why people like Laura Loomer are popular is because her viewpoints represent a large percentage of people. That's the reason why. And I think it's very easy to call on these figureheads and to say that, oh, well, these figureheads are the ones that are wrong. But the reality is that these figureheads are figureheads because they are the head of millions of people that agree with them, that have appointed them to that position by listening to them and agreeing with them. She represents me. Exactly, right? And so that's, I think people get it very wrong with like understanding influence and understanding like kind of like how people's opinions are made online. Not the other way around. Yeah, exactly, right? My Reddit post says 20K likes, so I'm right. There you go.
Which I think to a lot of people just say, so what, it's a blue badge. But what that allows her to do on the platform under Musk is it allows two things. One, it allows her to get revenue from the ads that are shown next to her posts. So that's a way that Musk has set up the platform to try and monetize it, to try and make encourage people to post more on the platform. And also she has paid subscribers on the platform. We don't know how much money she was making, but oftentimes that can go into the many, many thousands every month. So that has been taken away from her. We haven't heard from X.
I think that if she was not engaging in doxing, I don't think she should have had anything like that taken away from her. Because when you start demonetizing people, you're not necessarily stopping their freedom of speech, but you're doing everything but that. So it's like, you know, it's like, well, we're not going to take your car away. We're just going to take your wheels away. Okay, well, then you can't really use the car. So Elon didn't remove any of the docs posts on Nick. Yeah, well, I mean, who knows how much oversight he had onto that. I mean, I'm not really sure. So yeah, should be transparent, the reason. I think so too. And I feel like also the people that are like posting people's like private information. And I had the same viewpoint with like the people that were like posting Elon's jet info. This is done. There is no purpose that this serves to be giving it to the public other than to put a person in danger. That's it. And if you are trying to magnify and, you know, like push this data out there, all this is going to do is make people unsafe. Freedom of speech. Yeah, well, I think this is the way that I would say freedom of speech works in a lot of cases, and I think this is the way a lot of people see it, is that freedom of speech ends when that speech is a direct or indirect call to violence that puts another person in danger. So, like, and like, no, like, do we agree on that? I feel like a lot of people do. Freedom of Information Act? Yeah, but like what I'm saying is that the law doesn't really dictate to me whether something is moral or good or not. Like, there are a lot of laws that I think are immoral, and there are a lot of things that are legal that I think should be illegal. The law doesn't make decisions for like what a good decision is or not. That like it's an indicator in some ways, but like it's not a one-to-one. as it should be, right? Yeah. And so, like, just because there's a law for something, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the way it should be. Somebody's unhappy. What is this? What am I being hypocritical about? Yeah, what is this? Because I feel like I've been pretty consistent about this the entire time. Only 13 messages in 3 years. Well, it's probably not going to be 14 pretty soon here. Yeah, it looks like there's not. And a gooner and a hater. Yeah, it's something like that. I don't like to blast people out. No fish get. Yeah. Anyway, we're just going to ban this guy. Looks like he's not really, responding or anything. No, there's nothing hypocritical about what I'm saying at all. And so, yeah. But what do you do when there's an account that doesn't call for violence directly or indirectly, but spews constant hate for the purpose of inciting violence? I think that you can draw the line at making indirect calls for violence, and I think that you can logically say that whenever you're posting. Like, we're not really talking about drawing a line, right? I think it's a case-by-case basis in a lot of in a lot of things. And what I'm saying is that if you're posting a person's like location, or like you're trying to make people know where they are in real time, this is something that puts them in danger. And I think that they do it with that goal. So, like, we can talk about some other random idea or whatever, but I think that's totally different.
Haven't heard from Musk specifically, but Musk did call her out a few times during the week, essentially calling her a troll.
Yeah, I think he outright called her.
He did.
Yeah.
Undeniably, she is. I think that everyone, if you like her or dislike her, can agree on that. Jamal, we're going to ask a House Republican in a moment about his view on this and where this stands, as Jonah was referencing, whether anything can get done in Congress. We had Jared Polis, the Democratic governor of Colorado, on the program last night. He was agreeing with Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk. And I heard from people after saying, that's not going to help Elon as he's making his case here, with Democrats agreeing with him.
Yeah, the problem on the Republican side right now, the MAGA Republicans, they've got three strains. The one strain is sort of the economically anxious, the people who kind of could go either way. Yeah. They just want lower grocery prices, more affordable housing. They thought Trump might be the guy. You've got these ideologues like Laura Loomer who are sort of culturally anxious, right? They don't want an America that's going to become browner. They're trying to preserve kind of a white Christian heterosexual culture that they believe is the core American culture and ought to be the one that exists. Now, Laura Loomer ignores.
And I think this is true. There definitely are a lot of people that do that. Yeah, no, absolutely. And, well, no, I mean, obviously, like, people are going to have, like, I'm not going to argue, oh, you're not allowed to think this. People are going to think whatever they're going to think. My point is that, yes, I think this is accurate. Like, he's making an accurate assessment of what the situation is.
She says Europeans built the country. She ignores the African slaves. She ignores the Chinese immigrants who did the railroad. She ignores the people from Mexican heritage in the Southwest who worked, and then Native Americans who were here first. She ignores everyone else who was in the country. So the problem is, they've got to figure out how to Trump has got to figure out how to hold these people together. I just don't know if it's possible. Because at the end of the day, the only way the country grows is if we do.
I think it's stupid. I think this whole thing is stupid. There's 20 million, something like that, illegal immigrants, and people are getting mad about, 80 or 70,000 H-1B1 visas. Like, where's the priorities here? Like, there's 50 other problems before you even start thinking about this. Like, and this is what I think is kind of very ironic about this, is that this is something that's like a, third or fourth effect problem. Why are you even worried about this when you have, like, governmental agencies that are being weaponized theoretically, right? Which I do think that they do that. I think that's a huge issue. Like, you have billions or maybe trillions of dollars that are being wasted. Like, which one is worse, that or like Indians coming over and taking some tech jobs? I don't know. I would say the trillions of dollars is more important. That's just me. We can do both. Sure, right? But I just think that the priorities are distorted.
Have more immigrants who come into the country who help populate.
Yeah, it's stupid take. What is this here? That's something that could have waited until the economy was doing better? Yeah, no, definitely.
and move the country forward, and that we make it more diverse, where we recruit and retain people from different backgrounds into these tech industries so that we can have an economy that can compete with everybody in the world.
Yeah, well, and Jonah, on that front, you know, we heard from Loomer earlier today saying—
I don't think that it's necessary to import a bunch of people so you can be competitive. I don't think so. I don't know what other countries do, but I'm pretty sure that every single country doesn't do the same exact thing. I feel like this is it's again like kind of this thing that's like put out there as if like, oh, well, this is how it has to be. Why do you need diversity to compete? Yeah, I don't think that, like, I don't think that this is a logical perspective to have.
Still pushing her position. Obviously, as I read just a moment ago, Elon Musk is very much still advocating for his, despite the immense backlash he's been facing. But listen to what Loomer said about what she plans to do with her position on this earlier.
And I think also, like, what this black guy was saying, I do think that there's a huge contingency of people, and this might get me in trouble because, you know, I think one of the things that people like about me and also hate about me is that I will just say it. I think that there are a lot of people who are primarily white people who, one of the reasons why they voted for Trump is because they don't want a bunch of other people from different religions and different skin colors and different cultures coming into America. I think this was a massive amount of people. I think this is, and by the way, whenever I say a lot, I'm talking tens of millions of people. Like a insane amount of people that feel this way. And so, racist? No, I mean, whether you want to say it's racist or not, I think this is absolutely a factor. And there are so many of them that I don't think that you can just discount it and ignore them. I think it's that many. And if you look at a lot of other countries, that's the truth as well. Like, it's cultural? Yeah. It's called nationalism? Well, yeah. And that's basically it. I think that there are a lot of people that are, like, fiercely nationalistic. Like, extremely nationalistic. And they don't like the fact that, you know, America is becoming less Christian. They don't like the fact that America is becoming less white. They find this to be very problematic. And I think that every single person that felt that way, I think they probably voted for Trump. Think about, like, logically, how many of those people voted for Trump versus Kamala Harris?
I'm going to escalate it all the way up to President Trump. I'm going to take it to advisors, and I'm going to take it to people I know who have been appointed to cabinet.
She does sound like such a Karen saying that, but okay.
Positions. And I'm going to ask them, is this the type of America that we're going to be living in? Are these the campaign promises that were made to MAGA and the American people?
I mean, she does have a direct line to Trump, obviously. We've seen that. Trump has said he doesn't control her. But Elon Musk is someone who's basically living at Mar-a-Lago. And I think that is a real question of whether or not, you know, as you were saying, maybe it's not the full rift, but it's the start of one potentially in this scenario.
For sure. I think it's one rift among a bunch that will probably come down the pike as we move forward. But look, I mean, it would take a heart of stone not to laugh at this situation that they've gotten themselves into. Trump, you know, is this classic, what do I have to do to put you in this condo today kind of salesman. And he makes promises to the Musk faction. He makes promises to the Laura Loomer faction and a bunch of other factions in between that cannot be reconciled with each other. And look, I'm much closer to Elon Musk on the policy issue here than I am, you know, even remotely with Laura Loomer about any of this stuff. But I
think the reason why people on CNN say stuff like that is because it's not socially acceptable to say what I'm saying. And so, like, I think that this is a really good example. Like, a parallel to this, that's what I think is going to happen, is that in 2016, it wasn't socially acceptable. Like, the Overton window wasn't as shifted as it is now. And people were not able to say that, well, we just want to deport every single illegal immigrant, get them the fuck out of here. We don't care about separating families. Now, I think that people are able to say that, and so they say that. And I think the truth is that this guy and all of the people that CNN is going to bring on, none of them are going to say what I'm saying, because that is not an opinion that people can publicly have yet that is acceptable. I think that's, and the problem, and here's what the issue with that is that if you talk around this and you don't have this represented in like an authentic way, the problem is that it just gets worse and worse because you can't actually address it or talk about it directly. So it was CNN's fault all along. Well, I don't know. Do you guys think I'm right about this? Yeah, I mean, because I think that's kind of what's happening here.
The ironies of all this is that all of these people across the spectrum, they rode this populist tide in, claiming
sponsors
that
would not allow them to be that
establishment
direct. Exactly.
Republicans and conservative establishment and the old Reaganite crowd, the old National Review crowd, they don't know anything, and all the answers are super easy, and we know exactly what to do. And then it turns out they come in, and it turns out this stuff is really complicated. H-1B program is complicated for how you reform it, how do you expand it, what do you do about chain migration? And the serious people were all pushed aside in favor of all of these.
People are saying I'm overlooking Democrats' racism. Well, yeah, because we're not talking about that. Why would I be talking about Democrats being racist? There's nothing to do with this. Yeah. What do you mean?
Populist yahoos from Steve Bannon on down, and now they're the dog that caught the car, and they don't know how to do any of this policy because they haven't done any of the legwork on it.
Yep. Well, there it is. So people are racist, which is true. Yeah, and I think this is what's going to happen. I think that this is actually a much bigger issue than what people think that it is, because this issue is an indicator of people that are, they want to keep America demographically the same or have it go back to like how things were with like more white people in America. A lot of those people are part of Trump's base. And there is a tremendous amount of those people that are part of Trump's base. Now, they're probably fine with like a handful of people that are Indian or brown coming over. I don't think that they really care about that. But when it becomes a large issue and when it becomes something that like, you know, let's say tens of thousands of people are coming over, that's when those people are going to start freaking out. And I think that's what's going to happen. They're just racists. Well, here's the problem, though. And this is the point that I'm making. If there are so many people that are racist that they can change an election, it doesn't matter whether you think they're right or wrong because they still win. That's my point. Everybody gets focused on the moral and the ideological value of doing something good or bad. And like they think basically, well, nobody can have this opinion because this opinion is wrong. But that's not the way the world works. If you get enough people together, we could bring back slavery. You understand that, right? If there were enough people in the country that wanted to do it, we could bring back slavery. There's no reason why that can't happen. So this whole idea that because these things are apparently off limits or taboo subjects, that somehow it's a bad thing, I think really the way that Tom Homan has talked about immigration should prove to you that that's not the case and things can change faster than you can possibly imagine. Him saying families can get deported together to thunderous applause would have never happened 8 years ago. It would have probably never even happened 4 years ago. Probably worse 4 years ago. But now it's normal. And so everybody gets focused on like the moral mandate of like what their opinions are without thinking about how valid and how many people actually hold those opinions. There's a compromise available here. Yeah, I think so too. I think that's what they should do. But yeah. Would you say that for Germany in 1933 when Hitler rose to power? Well, I wouldn't say that. I think Kaiser Wilhelm said that. I think, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There were a lot of people that were unhappy, and they elected a crazy fucking psycho, and they got what they wanted. Yes. What? Oh, after World War I, the restitution for it was referred to as like a 20-year armistice. Because a lot of the people that were after the kind of like the reconciliation for that, they realized that it wouldn't actually solve the problem, and it caused things to get worse. Treaty of Versailles? Yeah. I don't remember all the details, so I could be wrong. But yeah, it was because of the way they were treated. Yeah. And if you treat people bad enough and there's enough people that are that bad, then yeah, you do get somebody like Hitler getting elected. This is why I've been saying, remember how I've been saying this for years, how I think that we're going to elect another Adolf? And somewhere in Europe might do the same thing. Actually, I don't know about us doing it or Europe. I think it's going to happen somewhere. This is the point that I've been trying to make. And I don't think people have realized that. The difference is nobody wronged Americans but rich Americans. You're making, I think, a very big fallacy. What you're doing is you are looking at your evaluation of it, and then you've decided that your evaluation of it is more important than other people's evaluation of it. You can be completely right, but if enough people say you're wrong, then you're wrong. It's that simple. And so that's the problem that I'm trying to get at, is that people get too fixated on whether they believe that they're right or wrong to be able to look at the perspective of other people. And if there's enough other people that think that you're wrong, then you're wrong because it's democratic. That's it. How do you compromise with racists? I don't know. We're going to find out. That's the answer. We're going to find out really soon. Yep.